everyone, on Zoom and on YouTube and in the sanctuary, and welcome to the Universalist Unitarian Church of Halifax, established in 1837. My name is Jessica Friesen, your music director and coordinator for our summer services. During this time, we will have a variety of services featuring other UU congregations across Canada. And today we'll hear from the Reverend Fiona Heath of the Unitarian congregation in Mississauga. Our minister, Reverend Norm Harofker, is now on vacation for the month of August, and Marie-Claude Leroux is off until mid-August. She is our director of religious exploration. John Piccolo is our volunteer technician today, and Scott Wood is our service assistant. During the service today, the chat function will be open, and I invite you to extend our hospitality by saying hello to anyone that you do not recognize or by leaving a message for us. If you are not already receiving notifications from our church and you would like to receive updates on our activities and services, please send me an email at jessicafriesen876@gmail.com. The order of service went out yesterday through UU Info, and it includes two announcements. Like always, please contact Margaret Galbraith if you would like to sit in the sanctuary and enjoy in person. You can reach her at margalbraith@eastlink.ca, or her phone number, which is found in the directory, or you can chat in the chat box with her. Second announcement. A reminder for the in-gathering service on Sunday, September 12th. This service will mark the beginning of a new church year and hopefully a true in-gathering following our COVID. We'll be celebrating a blending of water services where every member of the congregation is invited to add a small amount of water to a communal bowl, symbolizing a creation of community from a diversity of backgrounds. So over the summer, you are invited to collect a small sample of water that is meaningful to you. And we do expect that some people will be participating in person and some via the internet. Regardless of your attendance, in person or online, bring along a small sample of water that has meaning to you. That is a message from your worship team. Each week, I invite you to share a joy or a sorrow. And we will, after we will share that during the virtual coffee hour. So I am going to introduce the prelude now. I thought we would get ourselves off to a fun little start. Many of you know Charlie Brown, and I was playing some of that for the intro. So I am going to do the most famous Charlie Brown song there is, Linus and Lucy by Vince Guaraldi. Many of you never hear the second part, so I'm glad I could play that for you. And now, Scott will read our offertory.
The summer months are often a time of reduced giving. Your early donations are welcome. They can be made by e-transfer to treasurer@uuch.ca. They can also be made by a check mailed to the church. The details will appear on the screen.
Thank you, Scott. I will now light our chalice, and I invite you to light your own chalice or candle at home. So, Scott, would you please read our chalice lighting words?
The Chalice Connects Us by Catherine Callahan. As the chalice is lit, let us come together into sacred space we have created. Let the cares of the day fall away and know that here is a place for quiet reflection, for a pause in our lives, for breathing into our true selves. Let what is said and felt here add richness to the dimensions of our lives and spiritual practices. We are strong together in community. We share the experience of being human. Let the warmth of the chalice lit during our time together connect us and carry us into the world.
So it's time for our opening hymn today. And I have chosen When You Are Frightened because this reflection today is about connection. And when I am frightened, will you reassure me? It's about coming together, holding my hand. Please sing along with me. The words are on the screen as always. When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. Will you share some of your stories with me? If you will show me compassion, then I may learn to care as you do. Then I may learn to care. When I am angry, will you still embrace me? When I am thoughtless, will you hold my hand? Will you believe in me? Stand by me willingly. Will you share some of your questions with me? If you will show me acceptance, then I may learn to give as you do. Then I may learn to care. When I am troubled, will you listen to me? When I am lonely, will you be my friend? Will you be there for me? Comfort me tenderly. Will you share some of your feelings with me? Everyone, if you will show me commitment, then I may learn to love as you do. Then I may learn to love. So today we don't have anyone speaking on land and reconciliation, so I would like to recognize that we are on the unceded territory of the Mi'kma'ki. And now this is a sacred time in our service, a time set apart to honor the many sorrows and many joys that you, the congregation, are living, and to acknowledge the mutual support of our community. Today, I will light one candle for all those who are here with us or in our thoughts, who are struggling mentally, physically, financially, or emotionally. And we will also light one candle for the joys that are in the room. The big joys that only come along only infrequently, and the little joys that we are blessed by every day if we choose to see them. Each week, I invite anyone with a joy or sorrow to share at this time, to relay their thoughts to me by email. And today I will light two candles, one for Barbara Hassani and her husband Rodney Vaughn, who has been sick in the hospital for a week. So he's seriously ill, and we're thinking of you both. Later, when we stop the live streaming on YouTube and before the coffee hour begins, I will invite anyone else to share a joy or a sorrow and have a candle lit if they would like to do so. Please sing along with me. 1031, filled with loving kindness. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. So we're going to replace the word I with you. May you be filled. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May the joys and sorrows, both those acknowledged here this morning and those held in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, Weave us together in the interdependent fabric of community. So now, I am very happy to introduce Reverend Fiona Heath from the Unitarian Church in Mississauga. I don't know about you, but I have never heard from her, and it was a joy to listen. I hope you enjoy this message about connection and what we can do to develop better connections within ourselves, together, and throughout the world.
As Unitarian Universalists in Canada, we say we have 7 principles to guide our choices, 6 sources to nourish our spirits, and 5 aspirations to help us grow. And hopefully, at some point we might say 8 principles to guide our choices, but right now it's 7. These aspirations, these 5 aspirations, are unique to Canadian Unitarian Universalism, and they're intended to help us move towards our vision of a world in which our interdependence calls us to love and justice. Our first aspiration reads, "We aspire to be deeply connected. We strive to foster healthy relationships amongst and within UU communities, with the broader world, and with all life." And this obviously echoes our 7th principle, respect for the interdependent web of which we are a part. And for me, ever since I became a Unitarian all those years ago, this sense of connection is really its essence. We are the religion of connecting to our inner selves, connecting to one another, to the earth, to the mystery. Our lives are an endless series of dynamic connections. I think connection could be our middle name, Unitarian Connection Universalism. Many of you have met my colleague, the Reverend Peter Bulata, and who's been a guest speaker here. And in 2006, Peter gave the Confluence Lecture, which is the lecture given by a Canadian UU minister each year at the annual conference. And Peter argued that Unitarianism needs to develop a theology of place, belonging, that reorients human beings to what we've already named the interdependent web. That web is larger than us, awe-inspiring, breathtaking. We're not outside the web of life imposing our will upon it, but we're embedded within it, one of a myriad of nodes in a complex net. Mutual relatedness must emerge as a central norm for Unitarian theology and practice. And I really do think that in Canada, that's what's been happening for the past 14 years. We've been developing this norm of mutual relatedness. And that's really this observation of how life works on the planet. Complex ecosystems of hundreds of species living together, feeding each other, all connected in this web of life. And so our first aspiration directs us towards how we practice this, and that's by fostering healthy relationships. It directs us towards an action of building good relationships. Pagan activist Starhawk says that when a system is whole and healthy, when it's based on relationships of interdependence and cooperation, that further resilience, diversity, abundance, sustainability, creativity, and freedom, it exhibits what humans call justice. And so by fostering healthy relationships, we help to create justice, thus living out our vision of our interdependence, calling us to love and justice. So this aspiration of deeply connected is one of our signposts guiding us towards our vision. And this is a funny time to be talking about this because we're struggling because of our interdependence. Centuries of human domination and destruction are coming back at us. But we need healthy relationships to end racism and oppression of all people, to end exploitation, to heal the atmosphere, to stop species extinction. We're really, really experiencing just how deeply connected we are. I mean, think of the coronavirus. It spreads through the air that surrounds us all. It uses our very breath of life to help itself while harming us. Right now, we're solving this with separation. And it's not a great solution, it's a blunt force, but I do hope it will break the cycle of rising numbers. But it's hard because we are so interdependent. To live in isolation from one another is not normal. And we're using, as best we can, technology to keep us connected, to keep us seeing each other, even if we can't hug each other or sing together. But for me, these past few months have made it clear that our interdependence is not just a scientific truth, but a spiritual one. We need one another. We need one another so deeply. Spiritual truth I first learned many years ago. When I was 18 and I had just graduated from high school, we left Mississauga for Saskatoon for my dad's work. And it wasn't a surprise, but it didn't make it any less devastating. And on one of the first nights in Saskatoon, I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed for hours and hours. And finally, exhausted and drained, I was just completely empty. And in that just moment of rock bottom despair, there came this sort of vision or sensation or dream. And I had a very visceral experience of an endless golden net, interwoven and uneven. Some threads were thick, some were thin, some joined up closely, others stretched far into the distance. The net was magnificent. It was beautiful and comforting. And being held in that net in that moment, seeing the threads connecting me, I became aware that distance didn't end all my connections, that while I was lonely, I was in a very real sense not alone and would never be alone. Now, maybe if I'd been raised Christian, Jesus would have come to my aid that night of despair. But what came to me instead was this web of connection. This sense of being connected by golden threads has been a source of comfort in times of trouble ever since. And while I've never again felt it as strongly and clearly as I did that Saskatoon night, I still remember that sense of having the golden threads flowing all around me, reminding me that I'm part of the whole now and always. And that holds true even in the midst of this lockdown, which shrinks my world back down to Mark, Tico the dog, and the cats. We're all so deeply connected to one another and the earth. We're held in golden threads of life, and we need one another. When we pause now, we're going to take a moment to hear an anthem from our choir. And while you're listening, I invite you to consider your golden threads. Where do your connections lead? What do they look like to you? What holds you? In the 2nd century, Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything is interwoven and the web is holy." Our sense of deep connection is ancient knowledge. In the 7th century, Chinese Buddhism created the metaphor of Indra's net. And the god Indra creates a vast, intricate net that stretches out indefinitely. And at every point the threads meet, there's a sparkling jewel, and each jewel reflects the other jewels in the net. There's no center, no beginning, no end, just threads and jewels shimmering together, reflecting one another. And Indra's net is a symbol of that mutual relatedness. All of us connected by golden threads, each of us a shining jewel. Now, I grew up in an agnostic household, and my public school education did not extend to ancient Chinese Buddhist philosophy or Roman emperors. And yet, like them, I too had this experience of the web of connection, of those golden threads stretching out everywhere. Scientific and spiritual knowledge. And of course, this is indigenous knowledge as well. The Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee understood themselves as being in relationship with everything else in the world, not as being lords above, but in relationship with. They understood that they learned from animals and plants and trees and water and earth and received food and medicine and shelter. And they understood that their obligation in return was to take care of all of these beings, to help them to thrive as well, so that they could take care of each other and live in a world of reciprocity, of give and take among all beings. Right now, we live in a society, an economy that is predicated on seeing the world as a collection of objects to be used for us, by us, for our needs, without regard for much else. But our religious tradition is choosing this older, greater, deeper knowledge that we are part of the interdependent web of all existence. And so we're being asked to switch from seeing the world as a collection of objects to living as if the world is a communion of subjects. And that's a challenge when we're built on objectivity and separation. And so we're trying to figure out how to learn to integrate all the good we've gained with these old ways, all the advantage that we have, the connections that we've made this way, into this new world view, this new old world view. And I think it just begins with small steps and personal choices that will build up as we make the transition. This pandemic is reminding us that we're creatures of breath of blood, vulnerable. And so perhaps this is an opportunity to reconnect and build threads with other creatures. Right now, we're vulnerable when we go out into the world, like the cardinals when they fly from the tree, the mouse when it ventures out from the grass. They've always had to venture into danger when they leave home. And perhaps this new sense of vulnerability will help us extend our compassion to all of our relatives. A little girl's out in a rowboat on a lake with her dad on a bright summer's day. And she hears a great buzzing and looks down and sees this yellow jacket hornet resting on her arm. Her eyes get big and she looks to her dad because insects terrify her. And her father just says, "Don't move and the bee won't bother you." And he keeps rowing. But she's scared, so she hisses at her dad to do something. And her dad says, "He's tired. It's a hot day and all living creatures need rest. He's probably been flying up the lake and needs to give himself a break. Once he's rested enough, he'll keep going." And the girl's astonished. Just let the yellow jacket be? And so she nervously looks back down at him and she sees the beauty of his body, all the yellow and the black, his wings folded neatly, the sort of the perfection of his form, how beautiful he is. And she begins to relax and the insect flutters, tests his wings and flies off, flies back over the water into the woods away on his business. And this is just a little story, but her father treats that bee like a subject, a he with his own journey, not a thing to be swatted away. And in doing so, helps his daughter see that bee that way too. And she understands herself for the first time as part of this great whole, as part of a world of connection. This is just a small moment, but it's a vital one. Because it takes time to breathe and let a hornet land on you without swatting it away. It takes time to see an insect as a being with its own life on a journey. Living in a world of relationships means to live in a world of complexity and reciprocity. And we all know managing relationships is challenging. It takes more time to keep relationships healthy and strong than just getting something done, acting, and achieving. But it's worth it if we want to live in that living world of love and justice. And so as we head into this next lockdown, I encourage you to consider the threads of relationship that bind you into the web of all life. Which ones hold you golden and glowing, the ones you know will always keep you connected? Which threads feel thin and need some love and attention to grow stronger? And are there threads that are tugging on you too hard, past your capacity? Is there a way you can loosen that thread, let it go slack, help it bring somebody else in who can help manage that thread? Where are the knots that are blocking your connections? These are things that matter, that we need to take time to tend to. And if you have room in your life for more threads, why not seek out relationships with our plant and animal kin? I know several of you have already gotten dogs. I'm suffering from puppy envy right now. But you could also feed a hungry bird outside on a bird feeder, or care for a plant, help a tired insect. These are all so small and yet vital steps to help us reframe ourselves and to be parting this larger, intricate web of life on this planet. We aspire to be deeply connected. We strive to foster healthy relationships amongst and within UU communities, with the broader world, and with all life. And in the days to come, may we all find ways to enhance the golden threads of our lives. May we remember we live in kinship with all beings, May we remember, even as we distance from one another, that the threads between us remain strong. So say we all.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows, and what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on a morning star? Somebody thought of that, and someone believed him. Look what it's done so far. What's so amazing and keeps us stargazing? What do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. All of us under its spell, we know that it's probably magic. Have you been half asleep, or have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Are these the sweet sounds that called the young sailors? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Da 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 dum, da 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 dee da. Thank you. The rainbow connection. What does that mean to you? So, what connects you? Has it changed as you've grown? Listen to these words by Fiona Heath. You've listened to these words by Fiona Heath. And I hope you take it to heart, and I hope you learn from everything she said. And like every song, like every poem, like anything, it has many different meanings. And so I have chosen If Every Woman in the World. And we sing this song for women's rights and lots of other major events. But these are all about connections. If every woman in the world, if every man in the world, if every leader, if every nation. So think of it in the way of connection, and let's sing it together. every woman in the world had her mind set on freedom, if every woman in the world dreamed a sweet dream of peace, if every woman of every nation, young and old, each generation, held our hands out in the name of love, there would be no more war. If every man in the world had his mind set on freedom, if every brother stood in brother as a witness for peace, if every man of every nation, young and old, each generation, held his hands out in the name of love, there would be no more war. If every leader in the world shared a vision of freedom, if every leader in the world shared a sweet dream of peace, if every leader of every nation worked for justice and liberation, holding hands out in the name of love, there would be no more war. If every nation in the world set a true course for freedom, if every nation raises children in a culture of peace, if all our sons and all our daughters reached in friendship across the waters, refusing to be enemies, there would be no more war. So as I extinguish the chalice, Scott will read the words by Martha Munson.
We extinguish the chalice here, that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this place. May it guide your way until we are together again.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you to all who attended. Thank you to everyone who helped here in the sanctuary by Zoom or by YouTube. For those who joined by Zoom, in a few minutes, we will return to joys and sorrows, followed by our virtual coffee hour. So the streaming service will now end.